I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here we are. My name's Mike, and I was with Emily for about 5 years. We were supposed to get married next weekend. Everyone thought we were pretty solid. I thought so too. She seemed happy, confident, always saying how much she loved me, how she couldn't wait to start our life together. But I guess I was blind. Or maybe I just didn't want to see the signs. Looking back, there were little things that didn't sit right. She was more secretive with her phone, always hiding it, rushing to answer texts, even when I was just in the same room. She'd get defensive if I asked about her late nights, claiming she was working or hanging out with her girlfriends. Yeah, I know, classic signs, but I convinced myself she was just busy or stressed. Plus, she had this way of being bitchy when I brought anything up. "Oh, so now you're checking my phone," she snapped once, her eyes narrowing. "You think I'm cheating? Grow up. You're just paranoid." Then there were the times she'd get messages, quickly lock her phone, and then give me a fake smile when I asked what she was doing. But I wasn't stupid. I was just too comfortable, too in love to think she'd betray me like that. I figured maybe she was talking to an old friend or something innocent. We had no real reason to fight, no huge fights or anything. I thought we had a good thing going, until last week. I was cleaning her purse because she left it on the couch, and something caught my eye. A bit of a conversation thread, just a snippet, but enough to make my stomach turn. It was from some guy named Jake. The messages weren't explicit, not at first, just little flirtatious texts. "Can't wait to see you tonight, miss you already," that kind of stuff. Then I saw the dates for the past 3 months. 3 months of her lying right in my face. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could I have missed this? How could she have been sneaking around that long and I didn't see it? That night I couldn't sleep. All I kept thinking about was how she'd been lying to me, how she played me like a fool. I felt betrayed, furious, and totally devastated at the same time. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I had to be smart about it. I needed to gather proof to see just how deep this went. She kept telling me she loved me, that it was just a stupid mistake, a one-time slip-up. Yeah, right. I knew better now. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern, and I had to find out how long she'd been cheating on me with her best man, James. The next morning, I decided I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I waited until she left for work, then I went straight to her phone. I needed to know just how far this had gone. I dug into her messages, scrolling through hours of texts, pictures, and even some voice notes she thought no one would see. It was worse than I imagined. They'd been sneaking around for months, planning secret meetups, exchanging dirty talk, and even talking about how they'd keep it hidden until the wedding was over. James, her best man, the guy I trusted most after my own brother, was the one she'd betrayed me with. I'd known James for years. We'd been through a lot together. And now I was reading about how they'd been screwing around behind my back while I was out working late or on trips for work. I couldn't believe it. It felt like someone had stolen my whole life from underneath me. I was sick, angry, and confused all at once. I kept reading, trying to process it all. They'd sent explicit pictures, talked about how much they enjoyed their secret rendezvous, and even made plans for future meetups once I was out of the picture. I saw stuff that made my skin crawl, dirty talk, plans to hide it from everyone, even talk about how I'd never find out. I felt like I was walking around in a nightmare. All the trust I'd built with her, shattered in a few days. I was furious. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I knew I had to be strategic. I needed to catch her in the act, or at least have undeniable proof. I decided I'd follow her that night, see where she went after work. I couldn't just accuse her without concrete evidence. I had to see it with my own eyes. The pain was almost unbearable, but I also knew I couldn't let her see me break. I had to be strong. That evening, I parked outside her favorite coffee shop. I watched her walk in, then come out an hour later with a guy I didn't recognize at first, James. They looked close, way too comfortable. I watched them get into her car, her laughing at something he said. When she started the engine and drove off, I followed at a safe distance. I didn't want her to see me, but I couldn't take my eyes off her. I felt this cold, sinking feeling in my chest. This wasn't just cheating, this was a full-blown betrayal, and I was finally seeing the truth of it. That night, I stayed up. I couldn't sleep, my mind racing with everything I'd uncovered. I felt sick, betrayed by the woman I thought loved me, and furious at James for doing this to me and to Emily, who I thought was my partner. I kept thinking about all the times I'd trusted her, shared my dreams, my fears, and now I found out she'd been lying to my face for months. I knew I had to confront her, but I also wanted to be careful. I didn't want to blow up everything without having a plan. I decided I'd record her, catch her in the act if I could. The next day, I bought a small voice recorder and hid it in my pocket when I went home. I was determined to find out what was really going on. I told myself I wasn't going to lose my mind over some stupid cheating, but honestly, I felt like I was losing a part of myself. That evening, when Emily came home from work, I greeted her like everything was normal. She looked at me with her usual sharp, bitchy tone, throwing a sneer when I asked how her day was. I kept my cool as I asked her if she knew she'd been caught in the lie. I told her I knew about her and James, that I'd seen the messages, the pictures, everything. Her face went pale for a second, then she snapped back with that familiar condescending attitude. "Oh, cut the crap, Mike." She spat. "You're overreacting, it's just sex for God's sake. You're being paranoid, I've done nothing wrong." She scoffed and rolled her eyes like I was the one being unreasonable. I kept my voice steady and told her I had proof, that I wasn't going to let her gaslight me anymore, that I knew the truth, that she'd been sleeping with James for months, right under my nose. Her eyes flashed with anger. "You're crazy if you think I'm cheating on you," she said, voice dripping with contempt. "You're just jealous because I don't give you what you want. You're boring, Mike. Maybe you're the one who needs to grow up and stop accusing me of things I didn't do." Her words stung, but I kept recording. I wanted her to know I wasn't backing down. I wanted her to see that I had evidence and I was serious. She stormed off into the bedroom and slammed the door. I sat in the living room, clutching the recorder, feeling a mixture of rage and sadness. I could see that the woman I loved, the woman I was going to marry, was a complete stranger behind. That bitchy smirk. I kept replaying her words in my head, trying to figure out what to do next. I knew this wasn't just about cheating anymore. It was about betrayal on a whole new level. And I was starting to realize that I might have to do something drastic to make her pay for what she did. The next couple of days were a blur of anger, disappointment, and a strange sense of clarity. I spent hours going through the recordings and the messages I'd found. Every time I listened to her voice, I felt this sick knot tighten in my stomach. How could she lie so effortlessly? How could she pretend everything was normal when she'd been screwing around with James for months? I knew I couldn't just confront her blindly again. I had to have a plan. I decided to set a trap. I made up my mind that I'd catch her in the act, or at least get undeniable proof that she was planning to meet James again. I started by installing a hidden camera in the living room, pointed at the door. I didn't want to be caught off guard anymore. I wanted her to slip up to show her true colors. That night I waited, sitting silently on the couch, my phone in my hand, heart pounding. I kept telling myself I was doing this for myself, for the truth, for my dignity. Around 9:30 p.m. I saw her slip out of her bedroom, slipping her phone into her purse. She looked nervous, trying to act natural, but I could see the guilt in her eyes. She was about to meet James again, I was sure of it. I hit record, holding my breath as she grabbed her keys and headed out. I followed her at a distance, not wanting to spook her. She drove to a seedy part of town I didn't even know she knew. I parked a few blocks away and watched her get out of her car. She was meeting James at a small, dark bar. I couldn't believe I was actually witnessing this. It was like I was living someone else's nightmare. I waited outside, pretending to be a passerby, until I saw her and James walk out of the bar an hour later, holding hands. Their faces were flushed, and they looked like two people who just got away with something dirty. I felt every ounce of my patience and strength drain out of me in that moment. They got into her car, and I followed from a safe distance, already planning what I was going to say or do when I got home. When I finally parked behind her house, I was trembling with a mix of rage and heartbreak. I knew then that this wasn't just about a one-night mistake. This was a full-blown affair, protected by lies and silence. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I decided I'd give her one last chance to come clean, But if she lied again or tried to deny everything, I was done. I was ready to tear this whole thing apart if it meant getting some kind of justice. The next morning, I woke up with a heavy feeling in my chest. I knew I couldn't keep pretending I was okay, not anymore. I had the footage, the messages, everything I needed to make her own her betrayal. I sat her down at breakfast, trying to keep my voice calm, but inside I was burning. I couldn't look at her. Without seeing the lies behind her eyes, the woman I thought I knew turning into a stranger. I told her I knew everything about James, the secret meetings, the texts, the nights she snuck out. I played the recordings, the videos I had captured, laid out the evidence like a lawyer ready to destroy her. Her face twisted into something ugly, her eyes darting around, trying to come up with excuses. "It's not what it looks like," she spat, trying to deny everything. "You don't understand. It's just sex, Mike. It meant nothing. It was a mistake, a stupid one-night thing. I swear I love you." Her words hit me like a punch. I wanted to believe her, I really did, but I couldn't. How could she lie so easily? How could she dismiss months of betrayal with one pathetic excuse? I looked at her and honestly I felt disgusted, not just at what she did, but at myself for ever trusting her. I told her I needed space, told her I'd think about whether I could forgive her, but deep down, I already knew what I was going to do. That night, after she went to bed, I sat in the dark and made a decision. I couldn't keep living this lie, pretending everything was fine when it was so obviously broken. I started packing my stuff, planning to leave the house in the morning. I knew I'd never be able to look at her the same way again, not after all this. It was time to walk away and start over. As I packed, I looked at all the little things, the photos, her clothes, the memories we shared. They all felt like relics of a life I no longer recognized. I realized I'd been naive, blinded by love and hope. The woman I married, the woman I thought was my soulmate, was just a stranger with a bitchy attitude and a secret life. The pain was sharp, but I also felt relief. It was over. I was finally free from the lies, the deception, and the betrayal. Whether I'd ever fully recover from this, I didn't know. But one thing was certain: I'd never trust her again. That morning, I left before she even woke up. I took my bags, made sure everything of mine was out of the house, and didn't leave her a note. I couldn't face her, not without feeling like I was giving her some kind of victory. Instead, I just drove away, feeling like I was shedding a skin I no longer wanted. The house felt empty, cold, and silent, a stark reminder of everything I'd lost. Since then, I've been trying to piece my life back together. It's been a roller coaster of emotions: anger, heartbreak, confusion, and eventually, a strange sense of clarity. I realize now that I wasted a lot of years trying to make things work with someone who never truly loved me. She was just using me, or maybe she was just lost. I don't even know anymore. All I do know is that I couldn't stay in that toxic cycle anymore. I've started going to therapy, trying to process how someone I trusted so blindly could do this to me. It's not easy. Every time I think I've moved past it, a memory or a message pops into my head, and I have to fight to keep from spiraling. But I'm learning to accept that some things are beyond my control. I did everything I could to find out the truth, and I finally got it. The betrayal was deep, but so was my resolve to move on. Whenever I see couples now, I feel a little bitter, but mostly I feel relieved that I got out before I got completely destroyed by her lies. I don't think I'll ever fully forget what happened, but I'm trying to focus on rebuilding myself. I know I'll find someone who genuinely respects and loves me. I just have to be patient and careful. So for anyone out there in a similar situation, my advice is this: trust your instincts, don't ignore the signs, and don't let anyone make you feel crazy for wanting the truth. If you're being betrayed, you deserve better. Walking away is hard, but staying in a lie is even worse. Keep your dignity, and don't forget that you're worth more than someone's secret life. Moving on will hurt, but in the end, it's the only way to find some peace.